everyone, and welcome to Tuesdays with the Teacher, the weekly segment where you get a little sneak peek into the amazing people and the personality behind my St. Louis-based studio, Gabrielle Studio of Music. Today, I have a very special guest with me, international, boss-endorsed electric violinist, Abigail Stahlschmidt. She is an incredible violinist, but she's also an incredible part of our studio band. So you will see her on the stage whenever we perform live at our studio concerts featuring our students. I wanted to introduce her to all of you, have her tell her story, so you get a little bit of a feel of the amazing culture that's here at the studio and some of the foundational people that make up our studio. So without further ado, I'm going to have you start by telling a little bit of your background, how you got into music, and then your story up until where you are now.
Well, thank you for that intro. That was pretty awesome.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be on your podcast. Obviously, as you know now, we're sisters, but I haven't had a chance to be able to be on the amazing podcast yet. And she's had some incredible guests so far. So anyway, without further ado, so I am a musician, as she mentioned. I've been playing the violin actually since I was 4 years old. And at least at the outset, it wasn't something that I necessarily chose. For both of us, actually, our parents kind of encouraged us to start out at a really young age in instruments, which I'm very happy for now. But the violin is really something that definitely grew on me, thankfully, over time. And
I won't tell you all the twinkle twinkle stories that we had to endure through the very thin walls. It's fine. She's always been great.
The violin is something that is a little difficult to handle in the first beginning years. So anyway, I've been playing the violin since I was 4. I started out classically trained, and whenever I was about maybe 12 years old, I started realizing I had kind of an affinity for picking up melodies by ear, and I actually joined a worship band and got my first electric violin, which was a whole new experience for me. Opened up a lot of just new doors musically. So obviously as a classical musician, you're really used to being behind a stand and just playing off of the sheet music. But then being kind of pushed into a band setting, I was forced to rely a lot more on my ears and on coming up with parts on my own. So anyway, flash forward, now I do perform internationally on electric violin and acoustic violin, and I actually perform most notably with an international symphonic rock band, and we've performed all over Europe. So it's actually a symphonic metal band of all things, which I never would have seen myself initially doing, being a classical violinist.
Or put the two together.
Right. And she was always the rock gal growing up, so she introduced me to rock music.
Seriously, she would walk out of the library with her Shostakovich, and I would have my Van Halen, and now it's just this hilarious role reversal.
Yes, it is funny. So anyway, that is a really quick synopsis. I mean, obviously there have been a lot of, twists and turns along the way to get me where I am now, but that's the really short summary.
Sure, if you want to drop your socials so that you can check her out.
Sure. My Facebook, at least my band page, is under Abigail Stahlschmidt, Abigail Stahlschmidt. You probably already know how to spell that one. So same last name. And then my Instagram was under Abby Stahlschmidt, Abby Stahlschmidt, and my Twitter is Abby S Music Model. So
of course, can't you tell? Obviously, she's also a model. Thanks. But talk about some of your favorite top projects and any of the things that you have upcoming.
Okay. Upcoming. So coming up most recently, I have a show with an ELO Electric Light Orchestra, tribute band on July 1st. And I'm really excited because I know right now, for most of us, concerts are pretty near impossible, but this concert is going to be at a drive-in theater, and it's ranked now one of the nation's top drive-in theaters. It's in St. Louis. And it is called Drive-In STL. So y'all, there are still tickets available if you want to go to that. It'll be a lot of fun. And there'll also be a movie afterwards. So anyway, there's a lot of stuff happening in one package. And then the other thing that's coming up really recently is I have partnered or am being featured with America's Birthday Parade on July 4th. And so, of course, we can't have an in-person parade this year. I was involved with them 2 years ago in their physical parade, but this year they have a virtual parade where they're going to be kind of highlighting some of the best moments from years in the past, and some music that I actually arranged and produced is going to be featured in that. So
yeah, any news on a potential album or anything?
Well, it is in the works. So I have been really for the past few years, not very long, kind of diving more into writing my own music, more along the lines, thank you, kind of along the lines of cinematic and symphonic music. I was really inspired by growing up in orchestra and just the lushness of the sound that I had around me and the harmonies and everything. So that's going to be it's in the works. I won't announce a release date yet. I'll keep that a surprise. So
that's okay, but you should be on the lookout because it's not just because I'm her sister. It's literally amazing. And I've been listening to all the songs on repeat, so I know them. You know, I've got them memorized at this point.
She knows them really well.
If I could play violin, I would probably be able to play them as well. But no, definitely stay tuned for that. It's going to be absolutely incredible and really, really unique. So I think it's going to do really well.
Thank you.
Now, I just kind of want you to talk a little bit about your experience playing for this studio and what that's like.
Yes. So first of all, I just want to commend you on the way that you've set up not only the studio, but also the concerts themselves. So she does a really cool thing with her kids, as we call them. Obviously, not all of them are kids, but they're really near and dear to her heart. So
that's
kind
true.
of it's just affectionately called that. But anyway, so her concerts, which are how many times a year? Twice a year?
Twice a year. 2 live concerts.
Yes. So 2 live concerts a year. She has them on a massive stage, really in a concert hall. So the wonderful thing about this is for many of these kids or students, this is the first time for a lot of them, or maybe, you know, if they've been in the studio a while, one of the only times that they've had performing in front of a live audience, also with a live professional band.
Yes.
So these are professional band members, people that are active in the music industry, not just people that, you know, maybe play music just for a hobby. So it's a really, really cool experience for her students. And I've been able to personally be a part of some of that just by playing some violin in the concerts, not tooting my own horn at all.
No, it's amazing. But seriously, because we have an electric, not obviously electric violinist, but an electric guitarist as well. And we do a mix of acoustic and electric instruments. But there's a lot of times where she takes over those like rocking guitar solo fills. Again, boss endorsed on the pedals, so she's got some crazy, I will definitely, crazy cool things that she can do effects wise on her violin. And I literally have so many young students that just look up to her and idolize her. And so every time she plays, they're just like jaw dropped, you know, up there staring at her. They always ask if you're going to be playing for the concerts. And I have a couple of like really cool ideas for the next concert. So
Yay.
We won't tell you. You'll have to be there to see it.
I haven't heard of it either.
But it adds an incredible element and dynamic to what's supposed to be a guitar-driven solo. I think it's really cool to have it on the violin. So
thank you. But yeah, aside from all of that, the concerts are really cool because being surrounded with, you know, pro level or active musicians in the music industry allows the kids, or sorry, the students, an opportunity, I'll quick call them that, allows them an opportunity to really be able to learn and even be kind of mentored, maybe in just a small way in the interactions that they have with the band. So, you know, they're just advice that they wouldn't, normally get, maybe just standing up in front of an open mic night or performing for their, you know, friends and family. So
right, and they really do, or they're able to take the reins in how they want to perform as well, because these musicians are so professional that they can literally do anything on the spot that you ask. And so really having the opportunity for my students to be able to become the lead singer of a band and arrange and take charge of that arrangement of their song is a really unique aspect too. So watching them kind of thrive and come to life on the stage in that way, that gives them the extra confidence that now it's not just a cover song, this is my song. This is my way, my spin, and being backed by those professionals is an incredible feeling for them. Yes, so transitioning now to some advice that you would have for up-and-coming musicians. What would that be?
Okay, so one huge thing that I definitely have seen in my own life and my own growth is the idea of mentorship. So that can, you know, definitely manifest itself in a lot of different ways. As we already mentioned, you know, surround yourself with maybe for the students in a live band setting, band members or musicians that have been seasoned in the industry and have wisdom to give. But for me also, one of, which this ties into the studio a lot, one of the things that I'm the most grateful for having is mentorship in the form of teachers who not only were able to teach very well and knew the concepts really well, but were also nurturing towards their students. And, for instance, like I had somebody that I'm still very good friends with, my orchestra conductor for middle school and high school. His name is Shane Williams.
Love
so
him.
shout out to Shane.
Yes.
You're amazing. And definitely was a huge inspiration for me, and just very good at motivating in a way that was taught you personal responsibility, but also really inspired you to want to do your best. So having that kind of relationship with your teacher is really important, and finding a teacher like that. Also, surrounding yourself with people who are better than you. So again, one of my first experiences with that was in orchestra. I was in orchestra all the way from elementary school to college, actually. And just the nature of being in a really good orchestra is that there's always somebody there that is better than you. And that's a great position to be in. You want to not always be the best person in the room. And also in a band setting, I have band members, especially the band that I perform with in Europe. Not to say that the bands that I perform with now in various capacities are not the same way, but I found that, especially in the symphonic metal context, you have to have really good chops in order to perform in a setting like that. And the band members I perform with just push me so much because they're so good, and I want to aspire to be even better because of them. So,
well, just one more question that kind of brought up to my mind. I know for both of us, we were classically trained musicians, and that gets such a stigma in the world today because I don't think people understand the technicality behind classical music. It's not just about singing opera or performing in a classical orchestra. It's actually about the foundational techniques that cross over into every single genre and that make you a more well-rounded, technically solid performer. So explain kind of how that has helped you in figuring out who you are and in up-leveling your playing.
Right. Well, that I can definitely say that having that foundation of classical music, I can't imagine not having that going into these different settings. Because just to give you an idea, I've performed with rock bands, I've performed with contemporary Christian bands, I've performed with Latin bands, jazz, country bands, the whole gamut. And the reason that I was able to so confidently fit into those different spheres is because I had such a good handle on my instrument. And that's, yes. Yeah. And those two things are really what classical music and a classical foundation prepare you for, is really knowing how to navigate your instrument as well as you can, and also the technique and the phrasing, like the different tools that you have in order to form your own style and your own sound. I can name countless musicians who are classically trained who are not in the classical sphere now, just even from my own genre. I mean, Tina Guo, if anybody knows who she is, she's a phenomenal, highly sought after cello player, and she was classically trained, and now she plays metal music. She plays for Hans Zimmer's live band, which, if any of you know him, he's a phenomenal composer of movie scores. Lindsey Sterling was also classically trained. So those are just a few that are immensely successful. So.
Right. And that's a whole conversation that I love to have because there's such a widely held misconception about whenever you hear the term classical, it's not that your teacher is approaching something telling you, oh, you need to sing opera or you need to be in an orchestra. No, it's them telling you, like, this is the solid foundation, and then we build on that with every other genre after that. So that's really what that term means whenever it's used in the teaching setting. Is there anything else that you want to add and it popped into your mind?
Let me think for a second. I know there was something else I wanted to hit, and now it's escaping me. Talked about mentorship, surrounding yourself with people who are better than you. And really, the other thing that I wanted to talk about is constantly putting yourself, this is similar to things that we already mentioned, but constantly seeking to put yourself in a situation that challenges you. This goes for really anything in life that you're wanting to grow in, but really maybe especially in the music industry, realizing that you need to accept the mindset of being a lifelong learner and having a growth mindset. it's so self-determined that you not only really have to be able to have the drive within yourself, but also continue to surround yourself with people that'll push you and put yourself in situations in order to grow. And for me, one of the biggest things most recently was and is still the band that I perform with in Europe. As I mentioned, those musicians are phenomenal. And yeah, really continuing to put things in front of you that maybe you don't think you're quite ready for. But challenging yourself to take that leap.
Yeah, and I think that's really interesting and valuable too, because I mean, she's trained literally her entire life, and she is being successful in what she's doing. She's going out in the world, but she hasn't arrived, and she's always going to be learning and up-leveling her skills. And it's the same for me. Just because I'm a teacher right now doesn't mean that the learning stops for me. I'm still going out and seeking to add to my knowledge all of the time so that I can continue to offer the most relevant skills to my students in the best way possible. So I think that's a really amazing advice. Be a lifelong learner. Take constructive criticism.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And for all you perfectionists out there, realize that, yes, everybody's journey is different.
Yes.
So if I had looked back, like my 5 years younger self, I probably... I wouldn't necessarily have imagined that I'm at the position that I am now, but I'm really grateful that I am because there are a lot of ways that I've grown. But yeah, just realize that your career path or whatever you decide to make, whatever success looks like for you in the music industry is going to be different than the next person's.
Yeah.
So
absolutely. Well, thank you so much for sitting down. Like, it's crazy that we haven't done this sooner. I'm so glad to have my sister on here and to share a little bit of her journey and her wisdom with you guys. But we want you to sing with us, and if it's your dream to sing on the big stage or to go audition for theaters or to have a college audition and nail that scholarship, go to GabrielleStudioofMusic.com, learn how to become part of the studio family, and you'll even see her in person and be able to sing with her backing you. So, go do it now.
Perks, I guess.
But yes, that's a wrap, and we will see you next Tuesday.
Bye.